Organized chaos culture. This channel is the Stable Rec podcast. If you're listening to this on Spotify, I've made a pivot from Nassim Unfiltered to Stable Rec. This is a new channel, new business development, new product, and new society, if you will, that I've decided to create over the last several months. Stable Rec, the actual drink, was launched last year. And then if you're watching this on YouTube, obviously, this is the Stable Rec channel. I decided to push the product, or I should say diversify in the brand into a culture, because it was never just about the drink. It was always about sharing focus and awareness through my own experiences. You see, the drink itself being that it's a nootropic drink, these are supplements that I've taken over the past several years. And when I looked at the market, I didn't really see anything there. So I developed this drink. But in general, it was always about diversifying into and creating a culture around the brand, because I believe that in a world that's constantly changing, we have to change in order to be able to keep up with those dynamics. Obviously, if you're watching this or listening to this, it's on a digital format. This is exactly what I'm referring to. Most of our lives now are set in some digital aspect. Whether you're at work or you're at home, you're spending time, a lot of time, on some digital landscape. And in my living habitual lifestyle, I sometimes get caught up in the doom scrolling effect, just like everyone else. But for the majority of time, I try to pull myself out of that and look at things that can improve me, that can, in terms of like self-development, whether it be a podcast or a video, whatever. And that's what I want this channel to be. I've always wanted to create a culture around people that believe they have more, people that believe in this noisy world, they can achieve more through doing tough things and hard things, however you define those. And so creating this channel, one of the things that I just want to set is who this is for. And this is for people that are seeking purpose, seeking fulfillment. You may not have that answer at this moment, but you know you have more to give, not just to yourself, but to others through your own lived experiences. And that belief is very internal and custom to you. Everyone's living experiences are different, but you have value. Everyone has value. The question becomes is, how can you share that value? And I believe that most people don't look inwards because of distractions. It's this focus and awareness, putting it back into ourselves, that we're able to look at, okay, this is what we have. This is what I've lived. How can I find strength in that and share that with others? That's where real purpose and fulfillment is. And I'll use myself as an example. It took me a long time to actually feel this, because I was always, and even now, I live very inward mentally and physically, and putting myself through that darkness, if you will, to constantly search for more meaning, for more purpose. And as I've done so, I take that lived experience and I want to share it with others. But what I've also realized is that others don't understand what I want to share, because they haven't lived through those specific experiences. And no matter how I share it, they either brush it off as if they don't need it, which is fine, because this isn't for everyone. But at the same time, I don't want that to hinder me or stop me from sharing and trying to help others gain strength through their own experiences, if I can inspire those people. And likewise with you. That's, again, this is this culture building format that I'm looking to cultivate through this channel, through this brand. One of the main questions I always ask myself, and I'm sure a lot of people can associate themselves with this question, it's a relevant question if you understand where I'm coming from, is I ask myself, who am I? Who am I today? Who am I yesterday? Who will I be tomorrow? Who am I meant to be? And I believe this question is fundamental in order to serve the purpose that I'm constantly trying to seek. Because you can find fulfillment in being complacent and be fine and be happy. I mean, happy is objective, however you define happy. But also that, and again, this is very specific to me. I'm constantly trying to push myself further and further without causing myself harm, but at the same time being able to live in that moment and gain that experience that I can now share and inspire others or motivate others, whatever you fill in the blank with that, whatever terminology you want to use. And this is something I always ask myself. And another thing that I always ask myself is looking outward, or even how I would look outward. Everyone, when you meet somebody, when you just generalize socially, you don't think about this. This is done subconsciously. We all look at others in terms of personalities and who that person is. We define those people by their personalities. And again, this is in a short term when you're just meeting somebody. Obviously, the longer time you spend with them, you understand who this person is, and you're able to subcategorize these people, again, subconsciously. It's not like you're meeting somebody and you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to put you in this department or this category on this bookshelf. You're finding ways that this person can share value in your life, friendship, compatibility, whatever. And in my experience, and again, maybe you guys can relate to this, I always find the people that are the loudest the least valuable. And then vice versa. The ones that are more quiet seem to have more lived experience through that darkness, and in that darkness that person has have that lived experience, they can sometimes have value that they can share. And this is different for everyone in terms of there's no subject to lived experiences. There's no topic to lived experiences or to lived value that somebody can share with you. This is something that can only be brought upon your understanding and will to dive deeper into that individual. And so let's give an example. Tom Brady, whatever amount of Super Bowl, 6, 7, I forget. I just know he is considered the GOAT. And we look at him and, oh, what an inspiration. He's won this many. It's so hard to get to that achievement. Or Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan. I mean, you fill in the blank with, it doesn't have to be a sports figure. You understand where I'm coming from. These are what we see. But what we don't see when we are quiet, when we are living through our own lives, most of us face challenges mentally that we try to organize ourselves. And sometimes we get lost. Sometimes we get down. Sometimes we're able to find the courage or strength in what we need to do. But the majority of us that are looking for more, we look to others to see, how did you combat those mental hurdles, anguishes, how the world affected that specific individual, and how did they overcome those obstacles. And I believe this is all about, and again, the changing world and how we're channeling ourselves. It comes down to, how do we find ourselves through all the noise and distractions? And I think it goes beyond the physical. In my personal opinion, I think it goes into the spiritual realm. Because if we look at ourselves as just biological organisms, then finding purpose and fulfillment becomes lessened. There's less of a drive to find that. But if you believe in higher serving, and you can look at this from a religious aspect as well, obviously. If you look at it as there is more to life than just this 3D animation of how we view ourselves, then you're able to take that internal will and manifest it into something more, whether that's through pushing yourself through some kind of physical achievement or intellectually going through, books and filling yourself up with knowledge. But the number one thing, whether it's self-fulfilling through the physical aspect of life or the intellectual and mental side of it, the number one thing I learned is that we learn the best through others, through what others have achieved. And that's what inspires us to want to go further. Because metaphorically, you can be in a room by yourself, take in all the knowledge that you can possibly take in, but it becomes pointless if you can't perform it. It even becomes less impactful when you're not able to share that experience with others, because that's what we are, at least in this body and this again 3D animation of life that we are. It's more fulfilling to take these experiences and share it with others. How we're able to focus and find our awareness into that purpose that we are now living, and then give it to somebody else to also do better, and cultivating that culture where everyone is constantly pushing each other to do better and do more. And I believe all of these experiences have a compound effect. When you live through these hard times, the hard becomes normal. Not a lot of people understand that. And a lot of this comes through the physical pain, not through necessarily hurting yourself, but more so mentally taking that hard becomes normal over time. And using that as strength, you're able to push yourself even further, where someone else will look at you and be inspired through your performance, even though it's become normal for you. And so we all have value, and I've diverted a lot, but the whole purpose of this channel is to bring that, not just through my own lived experiences, but through conversations I'll have with others, and taking these shared conversations, sharing it with you, and then vice versa. I invite anyone that watches or listens to this to also share in the comment section or on social media your own lived experiences. And I think as long as there's more awareness and we are able to cultivate this culture, this organized chaos culture, the chaos being the world and the organization being through our own hardship, I believe that's how we can all excel and grow in all dynamics of life, which includes being happy, whatever that means for you. Taking this and sharing it with others is the number one way we are able to find purpose and fulfillment in this life, at least. And I invite you to continue listening to this channel, watching it on YouTube, however you're finding it. And I appreciate the time that you're allowing me to speak and listen to the whole thing. And again, this is the whole purpose of this channel, is to give you more, is to inspire you more, and elevate all of us collectively. Thanks for listening. Until next time, thanks for tuning in.